Hey, this is Don Walters coming to you from The Clinical Trials Guru. Again, that website is www.theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I want to talk to you, and I guess I'm going to aim this, or I can aim this at those who are interested in participating in clinical studies as well as those who are conducting the studies. And that's what's the best payer source for people coming into your studies when you have to pay them? Um, should it be cash, check? um, debit card, or sometimes you can buy those credit cards from the supermarkets and um, pharmacies and so forth. And I guess that's what I want to talk about. And I don't think there's any really clear-cut answer to this, but I still want to bring up this issue. Dan and I had a discussion about this yesterday, and what is the best way to do it? I mean, if you cash, obviously everybody likes cash. And it's easy. Of course, you have to go to the bank and you have to get it out of the bank and put it in your petty cash and then pay it out to people and go from there. And of course, you want to get a receipt. Always get a receipt. Make sure you never do this stuff without getting a receipt. Um, Credit cards. You can do the credit cards where you can purchase them from the store for the amount that you're going to pay that person. Again, you have to go to the store and you have to purchase it. And then there's the debit cards, the same thing. And I know there's companies out there that offer debit cards, but then you're paying a service fee. So you're incurring additional costs there as well. So those, and of course, then there's check. You can write a check. Client can cash a check. They can cash a check, get the money, do what they need. But the problem there is, especially in the arena that we've dealt with, some of these clients really don't have checking accounts. They end up going to these liquor stores and these fast cash places or whatever they call quick cash, and they get charged, quite a bit of money for cashing those checks. So they lose. We don't, but they do. So those are different ways. Um, Sometimes with cash, and I think you can pay cash, but you want to make sure that you have some sort of tracking system. Make sure you have a receipt book where they can sign that receipt book that they received that cash. The only problem with having cash on hand, if you're in an area that's sort of usurped by a high crime, then you may have a problem there, where you run the risk of somebody finding out that you have cash there and coming in and robbing you. Of course, in that instance, if you had those debit cards and they came in and robbed you, you can deactivate the debit card after they take them. That's not an issue. Um, but cash is easy to deal with, and a lot of clients come in and prefer cash. Now I know, and that's for outpatient. Now inpatient is a little different. If you've got somebody that's been in a study for 30 days or 45 days or anything longer that's been an inpatient study, you typically don't want to have that kind of cash around where you're going to hand somebody, quite a bit of money like that. And I've seen some of these studies pay, a couple $1,000s, and I know I wouldn't be comfortable just handing a couple $1,000s to a client in cash. So there, a lot of times they write them checks, and then they go and they cash the checks. And again, I've worked with clients where they've had a little bit of problems cashing a check, but most of the clients that I've worked with have never had a problem cashing a check. They usually have a checking account, or they're living in a semi-supervised environment or fully supervised. There's somebody there that can help them with that. And of course, they can go to the quick check cash and do it. And then some of these clients have relationships with different local markets and stores like that where they can go in and cash a check because the owner of that place know them very well. The credit cards work in some instances. I had one instance where the caregiver preferred that they had those cards, because what they were worried about with the cash is that the cash in hand for some of these clients that have it's so easy for them to get pulled into that whole drug scene. They've got the cash. It's easy for them to give $10, $20 to the drug dealer to get cash. And the drug dealer knows they have cash; they're going to come after them. And some of these people may not be able to resist that. The debit cards and the credit cards, it's a little more difficult, unless they're going to give that drug dealer that whole card valued at $50 just for some drugs. But then, too, if you got a client that's seeking drugs like that, you don't want them. It's just that when the drug dealers find out that they have that money in their pocket, the drug dealers would prefer to have cash than a credit card or a debit card. Um, it's a little easier for them to approach that client and talk them into buying that drug, whether they want it or not. And I've seen this happen. So I'm talking from experience. Again, debit card, that's one advantage, the same thing with the debit card I said. The debit card is that uh, you don't have to worry about that being a trigger for drugs and things like that. And I'm not just drugs too. And with the cash, again, the other problem with some of the clients too, I remember a client that had a problem with cholesterol and quite a few other things and high blood pressure. And as soon as she got cash in her hand, she was out buying every bit of junk food and high cholesterol food she could get her hand on. And the owner was trying to detour her away from that. And so I had to work with the owner on that, as well as making sure that we let the owner know when we handed this woman money. Where the debit card would have been a little different, been a little. I mean, she could still go cash it, but sometimes what you do is, for instance, what we've done is to find out. Okay, client tells us, well, give me a debit card to Walmart's. I like to go to Walmart's and shop. So you give them a card to Walmart's, and then they can go to Walmart's and buy whatever they need. Versus, again, if you give them a standard credit card or debit card, then they can still do the same thing as they do with cash. The only issue with the debit card, again, is like I said, it costs you extra money because you're dealing with another company that provides this, and that's the only issue there. But other than that, ease of convenience, I think it's a great deal. It's just, again, it's just that you got to pay this extra fee in order to have it. I think for me that's pretty much it. I mean, I can talk more about this because I know I've dealt with this in the past involving cash and a lot of times these little credit cards, American Express cards, Visa, MasterCards you can purchase for the clients. Again, I've had caregivers wanted us to get those because then it's a little easier for them to control the client when they needed to buy things versus just handing them cash when that cash just disappears real quick and the client ends up in trouble. And that's something we don't want. Anyway, I hope this information helps out there. And if you're looking to get into a study, you may want to consider that too. If you're somebody that's not good at handling your money, maybe you want that card because sometimes you get it's more of a mindset that if you have that card, you're not going to spend as much. You're just going to spend just a little bit of time, and maybe you can have somebody hold that card and store it away for you until you need it. And doing it with cash, sometimes it seems like an awkward thing and it's hard to track. With that card, a lot of times it's it's a little easier to do that with. And then again, like I said, with the cards, whether it's the credit card or the debit card, you feel like you have a person that has a little bit more control over what's going to go on. And like I said, our key thing too, because here in California, a lot of people that we deal with in these CNN studies are living in either semi-supervised or supervised environment. And we have some that are living independent, and some live with their family members. And we don't want to do anything to jeopardize their condition, and whether that be them going out and using drugs or buying a bunch of junk food that's going to push the cholesterol up through the roof, or whatever it may be. We don't want to jeopardize that. Our thing is to anyone that volunteers at the study is to have them come in, conduct the study, and then have them leave and go back and be okay. So anyway, this is Don signing off from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, that website is www.theclinicaltrialsguru.com. If you have any input on this, especially any sites out there, or if you're somebody out there that does studies and you have some input on this, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.